Welcome back, guys. More work to be done on the Scrap CLK. I've noticed she's got quite a bad oil leak, and it's coming from the rocker cover gaskets. So I've just got some new ones and some RTV. It's quite a straightforward job. I've got to strip quite a bit of stuff off, but it's all relatively easy stuff. If you look back on my channel, for some of my older videos, of my Mercedes E55 AMG, the WC10, you see that I've done this exact same job again before already. Obviously not on the V6, it was on the V8, but that was I think M113, and this is the M112. So it's virtually the exact same engine, just minus 2 cylinders. And the process to do the rocker cover gasket on these is exactly the same. So it's not just a rocker cover gasket, you also have to use RTV as well. But it's just very straightforward process, a bit time consuming, a bit fiddly, but this is definitely something that anyone at home could do themselves. If you're that way inclined, you can turn a spanner, you know. But yeah, we'll get in here, we'll work out what we've got to take off, and we'll have a look. First though, before I start beating my head to pieces, we'll set her to service mode. So this side isn't quite as bad. You can see it's a little oily there, but the top of the alternator is relatively dry. Well, I say relatively dry, it's very dry. Come round to this side though. There's I can't really see there, but yeah, it's mainly leaking from this side. It's pretty bad. This is one of those things, you know. Can't really complain for £300, but it needs to be done. I'm going to probably use this car over the winter, so I want it to be reliable, and I don't really want it to start stinking of oil every time I put the heaters on or the air conditioning or what have you. Anyway, let's get into it. So the get rid of this cigarette. Anyway, let's get into it. So engine cover off, starters, all the airbox, inlet pipe, intake pipe, all of that's got to come off. So let's get into it. Engine cover off, intake pipe, box. Well, yeah, we'll take the box out anyway. Just give us a little bit more room to play with. Intake pipe, airflow sensor, all of that's got to come off. Coil packs have got to come off. Do believe from memory doing the last one, spark plugs can stay in, but I think spark plug leads may have to come off. Like I said, it's a pretty straightforward job, it's just time consuming. So let's get into it, let's start stripping it apart and see what it's like. So now we've got the engine cover off and the intake pipe off. There's a couple of minutes to get those off. Not a huge fan of the style of intake Mercedes decided to put on this, but this ugly dampness silencer, whatever it is, they decided to put on it. Well, I guess they weren't building a sports car, they were building a luxury convertible of the 90s. But anyway, that's a lead for the math. So like I was saying, coil packs have got to come off. Probably better to note the actual individual space, places for these, so you know where they go back. I tend to, when I take things apart, I either use a piece of cardboard, lay them down in the order they come off, or mark them. This particular time I'll probably lay them, what have I got to hand? See, there's a bit of plasterboard over there, they can go on that, and they will be laid out in the order that they came off, ready to go back in the exact order they need to be. So 1, 2, 3, off. Move around to the other side. 1, 2, 3, off. Little breather there, looks very brittle, no doubt will break. So another breather there. I think the only breather, there's a breather there as well. Gearbox dipstick will need to be undone, along with the actual oil dipstick. If you're familiar with Mercs, you know, I've had quite a few of them over the years, worked on every single one. That you can not do any job on this vehicle without E pieces, inverted Torx pieces as I call them. Everything, E10, 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 everything's an E10. It's just the way of the Mercedes and the Chrysler as well. Not so much the Hemi, but the diesel ones, obviously with the Mercedes engine. It's just the way of the Mercedes. Everything is a Torx bit, inverted Torx, the E pieces. Where did I put them? Over here. So I've had these for absolute years, and I'm a nightmare with my tools. But these are the only things that I've ever kept safe, because the amount of Mercs I've had that you can pretty much rebuild an engine with what is in my hand here. Like, these are invaluable. Some of these you can actually get, I think it's an 8mm bit does fit them, but you do run the risk of rounding them off, and then once you rounded them off, 7s don't fit, and then you're into a whole world of hurt. But yeah, let's get these coil packs off, get the breathers off, and then we can work on getting these covers off. Now we've got the coil packs off. I would have actually disconnected them, but I can't find my open-ended spanner to pry these off, and I don't want to damage them, so I should be alright with them just leaning out the way. I've got all 6 off, held on by a T screw, a T27. But normally if I take these off, like I was saying, I'd lay down a bit of board and then put them in there, like 1, 2, 3. Obviously they're not the cylinders, but when looking at the front of the engine, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you can put all the little parts and screws there, so when you come to reassemble, you know you can't mess it up, really. Do you know what I mean? So next up, I've got the breather off on this side. This one here I haven't got to worry about, because it'll come off with it. This one here I have to undo, but it's so brittle that I'm almost certain I'm going to break that. You've got to think this is a 1999 car, so it's 24 years old. Those bits of hose in there. How they're not broken already, it's quite surprising, really. But let's start ripping this off and get this cover off. They came off pretty easily, without a fight. Didn't have to undo the spark plug leads, coil packs left on. This one came off pretty much exactly the same. One thing I did notice that I can't remember if I had to do on the E55 was undo the fuel line, because I couldn't get the rocker off. I might have done it on the E55, I might not have. I can't remember doing it, but it was a long time ago. But yeah, they're off. It's a little bit more tarnished in there than I originally would have liked, considering it's a relatively low mileage, 86,000, 87,000. But I think the service history, the last service it had at main dealer at 69,000 was probably the last oil change it's had. So someone run it for the best part of 3 years and almost 20,000 miles on the same oil, I'd imagine, because it's pretty dirty inside. But yeah, I started wiping it off there. You know, it is what it is. It runs pretty sweet as it is. It's not a sports car, it's never going to break any world records. But anyway, here's the new gaskets ready to go on. Passenger side, driver side, RTV, you're wondering what that's for, that is for the upper part of the rockers. There you can see, so this is the upper part of the rocker, which there's no gasket for this. Mercedes never done a gasket. The upper part is RTV. The lower part in there is obviously the gasket. But you can see, this is the driver's side, UK driver's side. It's obviously been spilling out oil from here for quite a long time, but the passenger side, again UK passenger side, not only has been spilling out a load of oil all around the RTV joint, it's been spewing out of there as well, and out the side. Look, it's still just soaking wet. So that, I'm hoping, is the only oil leaks on it. But as it's been left for such a long time, it has made a bit of a mess in the engine, you know. It is, you can't really see, but yeah, take my word for it, fellas, it's pretty grubby in there. Hopefully, see the oil just been leaking down there the whole time. Like I said, hopefully it's the only oil leak I've got. Once I put it back together, I will get a load of degreaser in here and pressure wash this engine, which will help me in the future to identify any other oil leaks on it. Would take the plenum off. I did it on the E55. It's quite a big job. Injectors have got to come out and stuff. Again, it's not actually that difficult. It's just really time consuming. As long as you're methodical with the parts, you can't really go wrong. But I don't have the gaskets to rip it apart and rebuild it, so that's staying for now. Maybe do a video on that in the future. But for now, what we're going to do is get these covers cleaned up, undo these two screws, prise these top covers off. They normally give quite a bit of a fight, but looking how bad these two are leaking, I don't think these ones will actually put up too much of a fight. These are the hardest bits initially to put back together, because this has got to be all of that has got to be super clean. Nice new bead of RTV around it, sunk back in. But what I've done in the past is take it off, clean it all up, clean the rockers, do the main gaskets, bolt the main casings back on, and then run the bead of RTV around, and then sink these on after. I found it just easier. It's probably not the right way of doing it, but it's my way of doing it and it works. So that is what we're going to be doing next. So we've got the rocker back on and give it a clean up and just chuck some heat-proof aluminium paint over it. Kind of pointless because you're not really going to see it, but you know, once it's off, clean it. Back on, new gaskets, bolts in there, top bit still off, because like I say, I like to do it off. So Mercedes don't actually make a gasket for this, you have to use RTV. And this particular RTV decided to shit itself, so I had to use my finger. But literally, I prefer to do it this way round, because I don't know, I find it easier. So literally plonk that down on top and fire the screws through it, and now I can go around and torque all of this up and then wipe the excess off. Would have preferred to use black RTV, but that's all my local place had, so here's what it is. You don't see it once the engine cover's on. So it's a couple of days later now. I've been busy with work and then just tinkering with this in the evenings as and when I can. But remember I was saying that I wasn't a huge fan of the Mercedes airbox silencer. Well, last night I ended up having a couple of beers when I was putting the car back together, and ended up using some old bits up that I had laying around from my Chrysler. So straight off the math to a filter with this is the air feed for it, the original air feed. I think if I'm going to keep this, I'm going to make some sort of, need to find some aluminium sheeting, make some sort of little box up, some shield, try and stop the heat from the engine getting into it. So I ended up taking that silencer off and capping it with a part from the old intake of the Jag, because obviously the Jag's now got the Mina gallery on it, and it did have this, and these are like sort of air silencer things which have been chopped down because they were much longer. Yeah, so we'll see. I haven't actually started it yet, but all the rocker cover gaskets and everything's done, all back together. And I think, if I remember right, engine cover still fits. So yeah, that's what happens when you drink too many beers and start using up loads of stuff you've got left around.